are no longer alone in the house. The story I want to tell you began on the night of December 24th, 2022, in an old, detached house in the suburbs of Oslo, Norway, a place where snow turns serenity into a deadly lie. Ellen and Marcus, a young couple, had gone to Marcus's ancestral home for their first Christmas after marriage. A cozy wooden house with a large stone fireplace. Everything was perfect until 3 nights before Christmas. At night in bed, Ellen heard a strange sound, a rustling from the direction of the fireplace. Her husband, Marcus, was a logical man. He'd say, "Honey, this is a 100-year-old house. The heating pipes are old. The sound is normal." But to Ellen, this sound felt alive, as if something was slowly, steadily creeping through the wooden walls toward their bedroom. Each night, the sound grew clearer. Each night, a few inches closer. Ellen begged her husband to check. Marcus just shrugged until Christmas Eve arrived. And on that night, Ellen decided to discover the truth herself. A decision that would change the course of their lives forever. Is Ellen alone? What is really in the fireplace? It was past 11 p.m. Marcus, exhausted from the day and Christmas drinks, had fallen asleep in the living room. Ellen, with a flashlight, crept silently toward the fireplace. Her heart pounded so hard she thought it made noise. She placed her hand on the warm stones of the fireplace and jerked it back in horror. The stones were cold, not warm at all. But Marcus had lit a fire that very evening. How was it possible? With deadly precision, she shone the flashlight into the empty cavity of the fireplace. The half-burnt logs were there, but behind them was a small metal vent. A vent that seemed to connect directly to the back wall, not to the chimney. And the edges of this vent were bent and scratched, as if it had been opened from the inside many times. Ellen jumped back in terror. The sound had come from behind that very vent. She now understood. Those rustling sounds, they weren't footsteps. They were the sound of scraping. Something scraping against that cold metal from the other side of the vent. Small revelation. The fireplace is fake and has a vent to a hidden place. Something is behind it. Ellen, pale-faced, woke Marcus and dragged him to the fireplace. Marcus was angry at first, but when he felt the cold stones of the fireplace, his expression changed. With a crowbar, he pried the metal vent open. It made a terrible screeching sound. Behind it was not a chimney, but a narrow, vertical shaft leading up into absolute darkness, towards the crawl space under the attic. And in that moment of silence, they both heard it. Rustle, 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 now clear and unmistakable. The sound was coming from above their heads, from that very crawl space. And this time, the sound was accompanied by a whisper, a childlike, unbearable whisper.
Are you ready for Christmas?
Ellen pointed the flashlight up the shaft, and just as the light reached the top, a face appeared for less than a second. The face of a man, but pale and dirty, with sunken eyes. And then it vanished. He fleeing through the crawl space. Marcus ran toward the stairs to get to the attic. Ellen was left alone with a trembling flashlight pointed at that dark night depth, empty vent. When the police arrived, they found a small shelter in the attic crawl space. A sleeping bag, canned food, water bottles, and a notebook. The first pages were filled with disturbed words. They have forgotten me. My house. I hear their voices. The last entry was from Christmas Eve. It had only one line. Tonight, their voices are close. Perhaps I will be a guest. They never found out who that man was. Perhaps a homeless person. Perhaps a former resident who never left the house. Ellen and Marcus sold that house and left the city. But the story doesn't end here. Perhaps you too, at night, when everything is quiet, hear strange sounds from the radiators, the vents, or the walls, and you tell yourself, the system is old. But next time, perhaps it wouldn't hurt to ask yourself, where exactly does this old system lead to?